Andre, how excited or slash bored are you of AI news, AI everything?
Yes.
Great. That's
I don't know. So the whole thing with ChatGPT was actually amazing because we ended up discovering a lot of, let's say, it was an extra tool actually that you could have used in your journey uh, in anything, but we used it as a Scrum Master to help us with suggestions, maybe books that we can read, maybe just have be it a rubber duck, which is just bounce ideas off of it
yeah.
in the
It,
bathtub.
it's a great tool, and let me actually start off with that.
Oh, I thought you were going somewhere.
Yeah, I am. I am. You just mentioned something, so that's a great. Just a better segue than what
Was
I
it the
had
rubber duck
planned.
in
Yeah,
the bathtub? All right.
exactly. So effectively, going over what happened in 2023, a lot of people can at this point be incredibly just had enough of AI because it was like AI news every minute, something new happened. But that just goes to show of the explosion that happened in 2023, and it's almost, well, I'll go through it in just a second, but we haven't seen not anything yet. It started really with ChatGPT, which is effectively a year ago, approximately today. It was with ChatGPT 3 that, or it was a 3.5. Uh, sorry, that
It was
3.5
three.
that
Anyway,
was finally made publicly available. Now, ChatGPT 1 started in 2018, and that was kind of used internally, and it was making a lot of progress. But when it got into 3 and immediately afterwards 3.5, it became open to the public, and that started making some waves. That was the first taste of what I guess we call now AI. To be fair, a few years ago, if you would have said AI, you probably wouldn't have imagined this. You would have imagined something more like Ex Machina, like you saw the movies, or something a bit more, well, what now we call general AI. This is machine learning and incredibly fast processing of data, but it's still, I guess, marketing has that impact on it. But effectively, ChatGPT just put AI on the map.
I'm not
It's
sure where this is going still.
it's not the biggest. It just lit a fire. It
Okay.
basically started a panic in the IT world, in which Microsoft invested $10 million into OpenAI and ChatGPT, and started planning to integrate it into everything Microsoft that they can think of. Uh, Google immediately, like a month or a month and a half afterwards, made a keynote, and I'm not going to go into too much detail, but this is the highlight reel of what that Google keynote
AI, AI,
speech was all
AI,
about.
AI, generative AI, generative AI, generative AI, 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 AI. It uses AI to bring AI, 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 AI.
So you
Right,
can
I got it
tell,
now.
yeah. So you can tell what the theme for the year was in every single big IT company. Everybody was panicking and trying to catch up with Microsoft because it effectively put everything in danger, and in my personal opinion, for good reason. Now, effectively, the other big thing, apart from Microsoft and Google, was Meta and Facebook. Actually, they had Llama. They didn't even launch it. It leaked online and it became open source. That people got their hands on it and went crazy with it, creating a lot of. This is a quick article with all the open source AI projects that are on the market at the moment. These are the top 5, although there are a lot more. If you go, I'll put the link in the description. But effectively, right now, every company is just like Scrum became incredibly popular. AI is becoming incredibly popular. Some companies are using it as a fashion statement. Other companies are genuinely integrating it into its business. But I think it has a potential to completely revolutionize the job market, first of all, a lot of people are very scared regarding what's going to happen to their jobs because of AI. I'm a lot more optimistic about that. But effectively, just to go through this is Jim Fan, one of the senior research scientists and lead of AI agents. I believe they worked at Google. Basically, had a PhD in Stanford. Oh no, sorry, worked at OpenAI, so worked for Microsoft. Effectively, he says right now at the beginning of 2024, we are here. We haven't seen anything yet regarding what AI is going to bring. Now, a lot of people are panicking, as I said, regarding what's going to happen to their job because AI, is taking everybody's jobs. But I look at it in a very, very different aspect, and I am almost frustrated that not more people kind of see what I find a little bit obvious, that this is, instead of thinking it as what's going to happen to my job, companies are not going to hire people because they're just going to have AI doing their work. Why would, at the same time, why would people need companies anymore? Like AI is such a powerful tool that small teams can create incredible projects. Now, in this case, I want to go into gaming a little bit just because I know I have a few examples. This all started with an email that I got from Steam regarding my personal kind of 2023 year in review. One thing that I noticed is like my top played games, in my personal opinion, were Valheim, which I'll go down there, and I started playing Lethal Company not too long ago. Now, for 2023, Lethal Company specifically is one I want to focus on. Top 5 most successful games of the year. Currently, as we speak, has 156,000 players with 159,000 players at its peak. This game was developed by a single person. It was started as a project and grew into one of the most successful games in the year. You had Valheim, which is in top 28 right now, with currently 42,000 players, 44 at its peak. Valheim is a Swedish game that started with, again, it basically started with one member of the team. Now it grew to 13 people inside of the company. Early access is kind of an agile approach to gaming, where you actually give you invite players to effectively give you some money but start playing your game before it's fully launched, and you use their feedback to grow the game and in according to basically the specifications and the feedback that you get. I think that's an incredibly powerful tool. But the point is, these two games have been created without AI. This is before the adding AI and Copilot and everything else that brings to the table. So effectively, based on that, is the potential for the future is, I see that you'll have individuals and small teams competing with multinational, multi-million-dollar corporations to make some incredible, like basically the goalpost right now just or the limiting factor right now is creativity. And because of the nature of multi-billion-dollar and multi-million-dollar corporations, creativity is a risk factor for them. And that's actually where small teams can have a huge advantage. So that was my very short presentation. Hope that I didn't kind of bore everybody with, but I want to then ask you, how do you envision, first of all, how do you see AI as a threat, as an enabler, and how is your mindset regarding, we did a segment just before now on Scrum and I guess the diminishing Scrum roles on the market right now. How do you see all of this going? Do you have that mindset of threatening your job, or are you more on the side of excited about the possibilities.
Right. So I think it's a tough question, but I think we also need to take into consideration the complexity of the human mind and the complexity of societies overall. Because you're like the way you're laying this out, it's nice, and I agree with the fact that one small team can make a huge impact. What happens when you have 10,000 small teams that each of them are creating their own game? Because you would get lost in a sea of opportunities, of possibilities, and everything. Like at some point, you had Counter Strike 1.6. At some point, you had Warcraft 3. It was a lot easier to navigate the good games.
Yes, but I see that as a positive as well. Like the way that I see this, especially now with AI kind of just pushing everything and kind of multiplying everything by 100, is the digital renaissance. Effectively, that, yeah,
Okay.
as you said, you had 10,000 projects by 10,000 small teams. That's just going to almost like the consumer and the average person is going to be the winner in that.
I
Competition is going to
mean,
be fierce and it's going to be tough,
yes,
absolutely, but
yes.
that's not a bad thing in my
It's
view.
not a bad thing, but too much competition is. Like, if we're looking at, let's say, photography, and let's say right now using AI, you can pretty much create any picture. Now, if anyone does it and if everyone does it, then there's a huge competition. And
Yeah, but
let's say you and I create a game right now and it's brilliant. But how do we make sure people are gonna know about that game?
well, it's there's different ways of marketing, but it's I understand what you're saying. It's exactly looking at it the same panic that from my point of view, just okay, a little bit more on a bigger scale, but the exact same panic entered the photography market when Adobe Photoshop first came onto the scene. It was like, well, all of a sudden you don't need to be a professional photographer to know how to play with the settings to be an artist or a photography artist. What I think will happen, what I hope will happen, to be more precise, is that the goalposts will be moved. Like the pinnacle of art or photography or games or everything will be moved so further along that the Cyberpunk and Red Dead Redemption 2 and the best games that are out there now, Counter-Strike 2 and everything that's out there now, will look like the first Mario games that came out.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
I
that
both
goes without saying. So
yeah,
I'm not invalidating that. But let's look at it this other way. So you will have a lot of creative people, but you will have people who don't really know how to market themselves, or
that's true.
you can even take advantage of someone. Let's say I created a game and you can come in and say, oh, let's build a company or let's build a team, and then you reap out the profits from what I was
Ab-
able to do.
Absolutely. So there always danger of, I guess, frauds, of fake games, of companies or these types of people that will, yeah, effectively scam other people. And any type of prosperous industry will attract these types of behaviors and these types of people. You do need to learn more skill sets in order to basically be successful. I think that's more of a challenge rather than a complete kind of barrier to entry. Um, but I still see it as a overall positive. Yeah, it'll be
Right.
tougher. Yeah, but it's almost like it's the world is changing, moving away from hoping that you'll get a good job from a really good corporation to just kind of, I guess, putting the tools in your hands and taking a little bit more the reins of your own career in your own hands. That,
So
yes, you can fail, but it'll be your failure. You won't blame it on somebody else,
yeah,
which
but
is a much more useful experience.
let's bring the discussion to perhaps the roles. Like how? So what do you actually need to know to be able to create a game? Actually, that's not the question. The question is, how will the roles change? Like, let's say you're a QA, a tester at
Yeah,
a company right now. Like, how do you think actually that role will adapt to the AI revolution in 5 years? Because you will have AI that is able
ab-
to test a lot of
absolutely.
things.
So the short and honest answer is I don't know. The full extent of
Fair
the
enough.
changes is impossible to say. I can almost guarantee that the roles will change drastically. Like it may be that you don't have a QA engineer anymore at all. Like a QA needs to learn a little bit more programming and a little bit have an understanding of other aspects as well. But I think at the end of whatever will come at the end of it in terms of whatever the new roles will be more complete and more you'll have a more, going back to the Renaissance comparison, digital artisans that are just kind of almost, you want the software, you go to an individual person and commission that software, and they'll do everything from A to Z because they have the AI tools to do it. So it will be more customized software, will be more broadly available and incredibly cheap to produce, incredibly cheap to buy and commission. And I think that will, I guess, just create a very different scenario, more meritocratic and more of a level playing field in terms of the opportunity available to people. Inevitably, there will be winners and losers, and it's like to make an omelet, you need to break a few eggs. So that and there will be some pain and some some growing pains. Some people will find that they're not talented enough, or they're not I guess fit for the industry. But I think that happens almost anyway. So this, it might happen in a more intense way at the beginning, but the end result, the place that we will get to at the end of it, will be better for programmers, or whatever that role will be. Might not be programmers, but better for the people making digital content and software, and the people using digital content and software.
All right, fair enough. On the bright side, I think the one thing that you can do, maybe as a suggestion for anyone, is make sure you keep track of what AI is doing and
Play around.
yeah, play around.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like check how it evolves because it's what we've done with ChatGPT, to be honest. Like we started using ChatGPT to learn more about Scrum, and
Yeah.
it's a pretty good way to use it for learning. Even use it for cooking if you want to, or whatever. Have it create recipes, but the idea is to play with it so that you're not completely strange. Like it's not strange magic by the time it becomes a lot more popular.
Yeah.
So get with the
Exactly.
times, I guess, to some extent.
Be
That would be
adventurous. Like that's kind of the same with pretty much any new industry, new way of making money. I guess I don't know why this comes to mind right now, but when Bitcoin came around, you could buy it for
mm,
like a few cents. You buy 100 Bitcoin. The first people that just jumped on it, recognized the opportunity and jumped on it, didn't risk very much, and ended up making a ton of money. So the pioneers, the most adventurous people, will have the biggest advantage. They'll be able to kind of consolidate their skill set and their place in the new industry before anybody else realizes what's happening. But I do think this will just shake the cart, or kind of rock the boat enough that will move away from huge companies just dominating the market, and I think that's a good thing.
fair enough.
Yeah. So the conclusion is, it requires a mindset change. it's also coming whether we like it or not. So it's almost like brace for impact and go with the flow.